So now we're gonna make our second dish of soft solid, and we're gonna make a zoodle with a creamy cashew sauce. The cashew sauce is gonna mimic an Alfredo, so it's sort of like having a nice pasta dish. So for this, we're gonna need a zucchini, which we have here, and that's gonna be for your zoodle. And then your sauce is gonna be cashews. We're gonna put some chickpeas in there for extra protein. We're also gonna add some nutritional yeast, which is gonna give you some iron, some B vitamins, some more protein, and it actually adds a cheesy flavor. Garlic, onion, and put it all together. So we're heating up some olive oil over here, and we're gonna add the onion and the garlic and saute them. I spared you guys the crying, because you all saw that already, so I pre-cut it. And I'm just gonna let this cook a little bit so that we get a nice flavor from the onion and garlic, right? Cook it down a little bit. And you remember from the last video that we want the onions to be a little translucent, right? They start to lose their white color and they'll get pretty fragrant. We're gonna put in our salt and pepper seasoning there. And while that's working, we can put into the blender, because we're gonna blend the sauce. We have another 19-ounce can of chickpeas. We're gonna put that in there. I strained off most of the juice. I left probably a tablespoon of it. And we have half a cup of cashews. And then we're going to use about half a cup of the nutritional yeast, which you can actually get this in a lot of places now. One of the easiest and cheapest places is actually at Job Lot. They have a Bob's Red Mill section. This is the Bragg brand, but it's exactly the same thing. Especially when it gets warm, it definitely smells like cheese.
It really does. It's a great substitute. I love it.
It goes well on, hot vegetables and, anything like that.
I always thought that the garlic and the onions needed to be cooked separately just because they have different times for cooking, but no, just voila.
Yeah, if you put them in there together, it saves you time, right, while you're making your dinner. And you don't want to burn the garlic because that can get a little bit bitter, but you don't want to cook anything over super high heat anyway, because then it tends to burn before it cooks. So as long as it's on about medium heat, it should all cook pretty evenly. While we're waiting for that to cook, so the zoodles, right, are sort of fun little zucchini-like noodles. These are, I guess, about as wide as a pappardelle would be. And they're super easy to make, right? So we've got a zucchini, and we've got a vegetable peeler. You don't have to buy a fancy spiralizer. And you just go down like that, and off comes your zoodle, right? And you can do as much or as little of the zucchini as you want. The peel, I think, adds a little bit of texture, it adds a little bit of color. There's a lot of nutrients in the peel, right? So I would leave it on there and make it part of the zoodle, if you will. And the peeler tends to make all of the ribbons, let's call them, makes all the ribbons the same width. The same thickness, so that they'll all cook evenly. The only thing that won't work too well is probably the seeds at the very core. So you might want to stop right before you get there, but you don't have to throw that part out. You could slice it and season it and saute it with some eggs or something like that. I have a nice big bowl of zoodles over there. This is the zucchini we got from the garden, remember? So awesome when you can have a little home garden and cook from it.
And now I see that you love using your olive oil for the sauteing.
Yeah.
Canola oil would be okay?
I don't love canola oil so much. It doesn't have as much flavor, right? The purpose of using oil in general when you're cooking is it conducts heat. So it transfers the heat from the pan to the food much better than the pan being dry, which is why you always want to have some kind of liquid in there, and the oil works great for that. Mm-hmm. The olive oil has a lot of flavor to it, right? Especially if you have like a really high quality, you don't have to use a lot of it, right? You don't want the food to be greasy, but you want to have some nice flavor. We'll just let this probably needs to go another minute or two. A lot of the onions are starting to get translucent and it's getting a nice color to it, but I'll wait for a second. The other thing that's going to be nice about this is it's only going to be one pan, right? So we're going to take these onions, we're going to dump them in the food processor over here. Oh, can you grab me some water?
Oh, sure.
Please. Maybe, well, let's get a whole cup of warm water in case we need extra. We're only probably going to use half. And once we dump the onions in here and blend, then we're going to throw the zucchini in the pot to saute it and make it soft like a noodle.
It's warm.
Nice and warm, okay, good. So the purpose of the warm water is so that you don't have to heat the sauce up before you put it on the noodles. That would be the reason why.
Nice little tip.
What do you think, sous chef? Did the onions look
It's
okay?
just that it's irresistible.
To
You know,
stir, yeah.
if you see a pan with some onions and garlic, you have to start stirring.
I know,
It's
because it smells so
Yeah.
good too, right? I think these look like they're cooked enough. So actually just leave the burner on. I'm gonna scoop this in here. And there'll be enough residual olive oil left in the pan that we won't even have to put more in there. I'm gonna put this down. Just gonna drop our zoodles right in here. Cook a little bit.
And I assume they will release some water to it as well that will help with that.
Yeah, they're gonna release a little
sauce.
water.
Mhm.
You can man that for me. If you want some tongs or the spoon, you can do that. And I'm just going to blend this up so that we have a nice sauce. Bear with the noise. So the nice part about the zucchini, right, when we peel it with the peeler, it's thin already. So you're really just sort of cooking it to make it a little bit more palatable so it's not such a raw vegetable. Because it's still pretty soft already. And it's not a very fibrous vegetable, it's easy to chew, right? So.
And as we progress, according to your tolerance, really, how it feels, you could always peel it at the very beginning
Sure.
of introducing that soft, solid stage.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe perhaps the first week you were taking the skin off, and then on the second week when the tolerance increases, you can leave the skin on. That's a possibility as well.
Yeah, of course. I sort of just leave it for the aesthetic value, so you definitely can take it off. It's, you know, not a big deal. All right, so that looks pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah. You can see the water here.
Yeah, a little
This
water
way.
will release, yep. So now what we're gonna do, we're just gonna ladle some of our sauce on there and then mix it around. So, you know, some people are gonna initially revert back to, oh gosh, it's sauce, that's not good for me, right? But remember, we made it out of cashews and chickpeas and some nutritional yeast, so it's actually high protein, a nice high protein sauce. You can put as much or as little on there as you want, right? Because it's not fatty.
And to save the dish later on, to put it away,
Yep.
would you recommend separating them, storing them together?
I probably wouldn't pre-cook the zucchini if you didn't have to, but the sauce for sure, you can freeze it, you can do whatever and then take it out and use it for meats or for seafood or whatever you'd like. So definitely, I mean, you got a big sort of vat of it, you'll have a lot for later. The zucchini can just get soggy if it stays in the fridge too long, you know, so. You got your little plate there, right?
Yes, I do.
So then we'll, you know, do our little pasta twirl here. If we can even make that work. Doop, 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 doop. Or not. Put it on your plate. The taste tester's gonna see what she thinks.
Let's see.
Might need a little
Yeah,
more,
try to get, let me get a knife.
This is actually kind of nice because if you have a soft salad meal, then you get to eat again with a knife and fork, right?
Right.
Makes you feel a little bit more like you're enjoying dinner with the whole family.
This is definitely soft enough. Mm-hmm.
Get a little crunch.
Yes. So I can definitely taste the flavor of the yeast. It's moist. The color is beautiful. You're right about the skin. It just brings that charmness to the food. It's rich and it's creamy, and again, this is a great recipe.